I needed a nice, quick, and easy project to end the year, and we needed a bench, so I built this walnut bench using a piece of a cutoff that I had laying in my shop. This was one that I flattened on that slab flattener that I built, and basically it's been laying around, and I've been trying to figure out what to do with it, so I'm going to put it to use here. You can see it's a real nice slab. Front side is flat, the back is still rough cut. So first thing we have to do is go over to the planer and try to get this through there now. It's only a 15-inch planer, and I want to be real careful with those natural edges on it. So I did have to push it sideways a little bit because of the bow in it to make it fit through there. Kind of curl it around a little bit, but no problem. And then I just went through and I did a couple passes on it. You can see it's a beautiful piece of wood it looks like now. And pretty soon I had a perfectly flat and parallel walnut board there. And, not too bad. Needs a lot of sanding because that grizzly planer does leave a lot of ridges in there and stuff. So then I got to figure out how to square it up. But you can see it's a natural edge, no real squareness anywhere. So what I like to do is just take it and put it on a piece of square plywood there. And I'm just going to eyeball that and use that to get my lines square and stuff. Go by that. That should be good enough for this project. And at least I have something square to reference to get started. And then to trim the edges, this Makita track saw. I love this thing. I got this a couple years ago and works really good. And I found on the shortcuts like these walnut cutoffs and stuff like that, the set of Bessie clamps that I got to clamp it to the board really helped, because when you're going into the cut, the weight of the saw bows it down and it can move on a short cut like that. So anyhow, let's just trim this one side here. You can see it gets, no dust, no mess really. Put the vacuum on it and nice clean cut. And that's what it looks like. So, these track saws are really handy, I'm finding out, and I do use it a lot, whether it be for plywood sheets or squaring up stuff like this. Let's flip it around and line it up on that other line I drew and just give that a trim too. And pretty much, you can do this with this, just do it by hand if you want it. I mean, it's only a slab that's going to be rounded over, but those are those Bessie clamps I'm talking about. I got these quite a while ago in Home Depot, and you can pop them off and make them clamps too. You can flip that thing, and pretty universal, but I just leave them in the track saw case because they're handy. These are the first ones that I bought from MLCS, and they are total junk, I will tell you. They pull out of the track. So let's hang that track back up there in the that holder I made, and then move on to starting to shape the edges. Originally I thought, well, maybe I'll just break the edges a little bit, and I got out that Shinto file and the spoke shave and started rounding it over, and got a plane out. And then I looked at it and I said, nope, we need power tools. This isn't going to do it. So grabbed the planer, and I wanted a nice big radius on there that's not really uniform, kind of a little bit tapered and stuff. So I just went at it with that big planer, and that way you can hook it up to the shop back and clean everything up. But it only takes a couple seconds to come up with an edge that starts to look halfway decent. And then the rest of the work I did with this Shinto file. I love this thing. Start with the coarse side, then go to the fine side. And I've been using this a lot. It's really fun to use, really nice, and nothing sharp to hurt yourself with or anything. So there it is. After a minute or two, starting to take shape. Everything's starting to look good. And let's turn it around and start on the other side now and try to curve that around there. So this has been a very handy thing for working with slabs and stuff. Now the edge front and back, there was some little residue left on there from where the bark had a layer that was left on there. So I just took a sharp chisel, scraped it down the best I could, and then some sandpaper and kind of roughed it up a little and got rid of what I could without damaging the edge there. Flipped it over, and the bottom had some sharp edges where the slab came to a sharp point. So broke them a little bit. You don't want sharp edges on a bench, so That was it. And at this point, I'm just going to throw a coat of the polyacrylic on both sides here on this live edge, just to protect it so I don't damage it from now on when I'm sanding this stuff. So over to the sanding bench there and do some final sanding on it. And you can see it's nice to have something that captures all the sawdust of the sanding. A video about this back a ways, but really this turned into a nice simple project, and a little more sanding. You can see it's getting there, and it'll be ready to put some finish on it. So that really was a nice easy to do thing. And first coat, putting on the polyacrylic, I just got a little tiny brush there for some reason, because it's the one I used on the edges first. But this first coat is useless anyway. You put it on and basically it raises the grain, soaks in, and you can see the wood pops up and it's all rough, so you have to sand basically all of it off. So I put the first coat on, let it cure, sand it all off, go back to another coat, and then let that cure, sand it off, and then go back and do a final coat. And then it starts to look pretty good by then. You haven't built up too much of a finish because you've been sanding it off, and you have the wood sealed up pretty good. And now this is it's a shiny polyurethane gloss that I use, but I don't like a gloss finish. I think that looks terrible on furniture. So what I do is I take 320 grit sandpaper, and I go back through and just break the surface here to break the gloss on it. And then I take this old Johnson's paste wax. I don't know, I love this stuff. Too bad they discontinued it. And I'll put a good heavy coat of that on with 4/0 steel wool. And that actually really does a good job smoothing out this polyacrylic. For some reason, this stuff makes the polyacrylic come out like glass. And then I take sheets of this Scotch-Brite. I use the fine stuff there. I cut circles out of it to double-sided tape on my little orbital sander there. And before that wax is dry, I'm going to go over it with the orbital sander here and just give it a little bit more of a dulling to that sheen on the polyurethane. We're trying to dull it down some and get a nice smooth finish on there. So that does a really nice job, and it's an easy way to get a good finish with polyacrylic. And then let's just buff that off. There you can see it's really pretty much glass smooth and got a nice sheen but not a shine. And then the last thing I do is I go back and I put a coat of beeswax on it. I just like to finish the beeswax gives it, and it's a good protectant. I find it gives it a little more waterproofness, and it doesn't smell like that Johnson's wax for the last coat. You don't need the leveling ability of the beeswax. So there it is. You can see I broke the shine on it. Nice flat finish, but it's not really a high gloss finish. So I'm happy with it, very happy. And that's a way to make that polyacrylic look good if you do anything. And whatever you do, what you do to one side of a piece, you actually do to the other. Here I'm going back to the back side and doing the Johnson's wax and the beeswax after 3 coats on that. And I ordered some legs from Amazon. I got these on clearance. I found them, so I got a couple sets of them, and I'm just going to use these. I was going to build some, but I wanted the quick satisfaction, so bought these. You can see the welds aren't perfect, and they're industrial style legs, so figured I'd give it an industrial style look by also screwing it on with some real bolts. First thing I did is they came with little screws to mount them, and I'm going to use 1/4 bolts to mount these things. So I had to drill out the holes a little bit in the legs here, just so I drilled them out 32nd oversize. And then I'm going to take 1.5 inch spacer and space them in from the edge 1.5 inch and try to get them as centered as I can. And these are the bolts I picked out. I wanted a real industrial look on them, so I'm going to use just socket head cap screws. And I'm going to use one of these Infinity 1/4 taps. These are special taps that are made for wood, and they do a wonderful job. I am so happy. I've been using these, playing with them for a while now, and I'm finding they're extremely strong, and they work good if you use the right pilot holes. First thing I'm going to do is just trace these holes. Now, both these legs are a little different, so you want to make sure you mark the direction the leg is in and get it on the right side, because you'll never go back and switch them and get them to line up. Then I'm just going to take a spring-loaded center punch here and go through and get the exact center of each of those holes. Got to be right on there because I've only got a 30-second of clearance around the bolt and everything is real tight. Then over to the drill press, and I'm going to drill the pilot hole for the tap. I set this so it's 3/16 of an inch deep, or less than the thickness of the top. So I'm not going to drill through. I do not want to break through. So that goes pretty easy, but it did take a while to make sure everything was really had to be dead nut centered. There was no room for error here, so took my time, went through and drilled them. And one mistake I did make is I got some big chunks of chips underneath, and I did get a couple scratches in the top. I'll show you later doing this process here that I didn't really think about. Okay, holes are in there now. I'm just going to put a little chamfer on each one of them. I find that actually helps to get the tap started and makes them go real easy with no chipping or anything like that. I got some of these countersinks on Amazon on a special deal of the day once a while ago, and I just sharpened them up a little, and they've been real handy for that. Now these taps are made to be used in a drill. A little bit longer. They've got a hex shank on them, and they do come in all different sizes here. And I like using this M12 drill because it's not too powerful, and I do have the clutch set on about 14 in case I bottom out. I'm trying not to. See, I put some tape around it where I'm trying to stop, and actually I had no problem. But I don't want to pop through the other side by mistake, so I'm just taking my time here, and this M12 drill really works good with these taps. I'm very happy with it. Anything with more power could be a problem. It doesn't take long to tap them, and I mean, these are nice meaty screws compared to the little skinny wood screws that came with the legs, so I toss them out. And I just check the threads when they're done, and perfect every time, pretty much. Now is the moment I've been waiting for to see if I got all the holes right. Everything lines up, and yes, I did. They all lined up perfectly, and you can see it just screws in just as if it's screwing into metal. 1/4-20s hold really good and tight down good. I have a hard time actually stripping them out. I could with probably if I used a power driver with a higher torque rating on it, I could. But doing everything by hand, I can get them really tight. I mean, I can get them 10 times as tight as a wood screw using the Allen wrench. But anyhow, so this really did speed it up too. So it's just let's get these bolts in, and I'm using a spring washer underneath the head of the bolt. So pretty much nothing should ever come loose if there's any movement from seasonal movement or anything. That spring washer, I'm tightening the bolt down and cranking about another 1/4 turn, and that should always have plenty of pressure on it, plus keep them from backing out. So there you can see the legs. They're not perfect legs, but I'm pretty happy with them. I'll probably take them off, sand them down, and put some of the like the hammer tone paint on them that covers up some of those welds, and then when it gets warm out. But for now, I'm really happy, and it's a 5-minute satisfaction. I was going to make legs, but this some reason I think Amazon, that Amazon thing in our house is listening to me, and every time I mention I'm going to look for something, I find a bargain on it when I go on Amazon. So getting kind of scary, but does save me a lot of money. So let's get these tightened up, and you can see you can really wail on these things, and they tighten up good. Really, really sturdy when it's all done. Nice clean look too, kind of like a real industrial look with the socket head cap screws here. Wish I had black washers, but I didn't. So let's go over and finish the other side up. And now we got one on, and there you can see again. Just carefully going to the depth, and no problem. These things, you can see they cut really nice and clean, so I'm real happy with them. They sure work a lot better than the old metal taps I tried once and had problems with. So that's it. A couple more bolts to tighten up here, and got lucky. Everything lined up perfect, and we have a bench. So this was, really, it didn't take very long to make. I spent more time just kind of waiting for stuff to dry than making it. And it was a fun and, project to end the year out with. No stress, no fuss, no, trying to make crazy things with a laser or anything like that. Just a real relaxing project. And I'm very happy with it. And there you see the couple scratches I got from the chips that got under it on the drill press. I'll have to try to buff them out. But otherwise, good use for a piece of scrap wood that might have otherwise wound up in the fireplace. And I'll put it upstairs here. We needed this for when you come in the door to take your boots off and put them on and stuff. And, it looks good there. I'm happy with it. My wife's very happy with it, so that's all that counts. And it did come out real nice. And Lucy's, she's a little worried though. She's over there whining at me. She said, well, the legs are too tall. I can't get up on it. I'm going to need a ladder to get up there. So she just walks away. I just thought I'd share this with you and show you how I made a real fast bench and, how I got a good finish on that polyacrylic, because that stuff can be tough. And, just how, these wood threads actually work, and I'm real happy. I've been playing with them for a while, and I've got a lot of projects lined up for them. And, this is the first one. It is extremely sturdy, and I think it's really nice looking. I think that's a perfect piece of wood for a bench. Really beautiful walnut. Have a happy new year. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.